Welcome back, friends, to the Bonus Bone Podcast. Chasta
Woot and woot.
Tonelli woot-wooting for Lamont, and Baby Huey is here, of course.
It loses a little of the woot-woot factor without Lamont here.
It's more intense.
Do we need to do it together?
Yeah, do it.
No,
Do it.
please don't.
3, 2,
Please,
1.
no.
Woot, woot!
You,
Oh,
Come
did I
on.
miss? I'm sorry.
he let us down.
You gotta be a team player.
He let us
texting.
down. Yeah. Trying to do a podcast here, sir.
Sorry.
Mr. Technology guy over here.
All right.
I had a text conversation with my dad last night. I think that was like the first time we ever did.
Aw. Daddy Delmore text?
When I got
Give me
home,
his number.
When I got home, he was like, "You're surprised I responded."
I'm surprised he responded.
That's cute.
Because I was at a comedy show and he called me and I texted him. I said, "Hey, I'm busy. I'm watching my
And he
friend
got back
Sean."
to you.
And he texted me right back. "How's he doing?" I said, "He's doing good." He texted photo. He said, "So no tomatoes thrown at him." So I'm like, we're going back and forth. He's being funny in text. I'm like, and then when I got home, he's like, "You're surprised you're impressed with my texting?" I'm like, "Yeah."
That's really cute. Did you teach him?
No.
He learned all on his own?
I guess, or maybe my aunt showed him or something.
That's cute.
So,
That's really cute.
Wow, way to go.
Yeah.
Daddy Delmore.
Yep, Daddy Delmore, he's the best. All right, so this podcast episode is where we're going to get our journalistic integrity
Yes.
checked off.
Why is that?
We're earning our Girl Scout badge, Boy Scout badge in journalistic integrity because we're talking about a real rock and roll topic this week.
We are?
Brought to us by Baby Huey.
Okay.
Yeah, and so he's going to be our official journalist. He's going to bring up the topic and read the details.
Who's
By the way, I'm texting our special guest for the podcast.
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
we have a special guest?
Yeah.
Oh.
Is he down the hall?
I don't know. I don't even know if he's in the
I was
building.
going to say, is he at
I
work
don't
today?
know. Go ahead
Tony?
and say what you were going to say.
Oh, so I got to adjust the camera then.
No, you don't.
Yeah. Okay.
He's far enough away. Somebody can be in frame with him.
Yeah.
Is it Tony? Are we talking about Tony?
Well, just go ahead and talk.
Tony. Okay. All right. Anyway, moving on. All right. Journalistic integrity.
I was trying to think, who's a news anchor I can say I'm copying? Who's
Dan Rather.
Dan Rather.
Yeah,
No,
you have to have a very.
No, who's on like CNN or something?
Who cares? Just go.
Wolf Blitzer.
Wolf
There
Blitzer.
you go.
Well, no. So Joe Elliott's in the news. He's responding to a couple other musicians calling out Def Leppard for using backing tracks. But this started back in November with Chuck Billy of Testament, Bay Area band.
Okay.
You a Testament fan, Paul?
I'm a huge Testament fan.
I want to see you in a pit.
Yes. Get Tonelli in the pit.
So no, Chuck Billy, I guess, originally did an interview back in November talking about their live sound, and he says they don't use backing tracks. It's like they're raw. They're what you see
Sure.
live. That's all them.
You mean Testament?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. I couldn't have imagined
God.
that to ever be the case.
So he says, he said, quote, "That's not my thing. I definitely don't lip sync. I think the only videos, I think the only time I've ever had to lip sync is when you shoot music videos like on MTV. But he goes on to saying, that's how they are live.
Right.
That's them raw.
Take them or leave them. I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then Chris Holmes of Wasp fame,
Yeah.
I'm just paraphrasing here. He also said, he's not for that. He thinks if you go to a show to see a band, you go see them how they are and perform live. So, but with Chuck Billy, though, he said, quote, like a band's like, where is the quote here?
Come on, Mr. Journalist.
He said,
He wants to get the quote
Let's
right.
go, Wolf. You got to know what you're going to quote before you go on the air,
I
sir.
know, dude. I'm running around trying to get things all done here.
Your new nickname is Baby Blitzer.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
He said, Chuck Billy said, I know there's bands like Def Leppard that use a lot of backing
Oh, he
tracks.
called him out.
Yeah.
But that's also backing tracks for that big sound because obviously you can't get all their voices live unless you brought in a choir. So there's an exception to the rule. Let's see.
So it was like a backhanded compliment
Yeah.
in a sort of way. Like he's saying
Because their sound is so big.
He
because
said-
their sound is so huge.
and he says, I guess there's bands out there that probably need the help.
Okay, so that's where it got squirrely. He said bands out there that need the help. Then he went into Def Leppard. So if you look at it, those sentences are joined, but I don't think that Chuck's intent, I'm speaking on behalf of him, obviously, but I don't think his intent was bands that need help, Def Leppard. I don't think he was linking those. I think he's saying there are bands that need help, and we all agree there are bands that need help. But I think he's saying separately of that, Def Leppard is a band that has such a huge sound, they have no choice but to do that.
Okay.
And it has not been a secret Def Leppard has talked about after the accident with Rick Allen with his arm, there are certain songs, Rocket is a good example, where he can't do those beats with one arm, right? Like that's just not even possible. So then they did have backup tracks for drums to fill that gap. That makes sense to me.
I don't think you can correlate what he said, though, about lip syncing and backing tracks. Those
I think they're two very different things.
So
two very different things.
So Joe Elliott, though, so he responded to this.
He was clearly pissed.
Yes. So I guess he's been stewing on this for a minute. So he said, quote, I don't normally comment on this kind of stuff, but a friend of mine just sent me some kind of link to something on YouTube. A recent posting by, forgive me, I don't know his name.
That's a dig. I'm sorry.
Something from Testament.
Everybody knows Chuck Billy of Testament. You know, that was a passive-aggressive dig.
I think it is. And Chris Holmes accusing us of using backing tracks. I don't get angry at this. I'm flattered because their standards must be very different to ours. For anybody that thinks we use backing tracks, it must mean that when they hear us, they can't believe how good it is for real.
Wow.
So he offered he'd be happy to invite those guys to come on stage and listen with a pair of headphones to hear what's coming out of the stage. And then he says, we don't use backing tracks. We use effects. God, who wouldn't? When there's 4 people singing, we use effects. There's no tapes of backing vocals. We use keyboards. We use a few drum loops because, in fairness, 2-armed drummers use drum loops. But for Rick Allen to play a song like Rocket...
He uses twice as many loops. Sorry.
What's this word? Cockney?
Well, I don't know. Spell it cockamamie?
Cacophony.
Cacophony. It's like a
caca.
It's like a mixture of noises.
Right, exactly.
Just really
a cacophony of
noise.
Of toms that one arm couldn't play. So
that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
We use a trigger loop, which is part of the drum kit.
Lots of drummers, by the way, one-armed or two-armed, use triggers, by the way. That's very common.
So he says, no backing tracks, but they use effects and they use drum triggers.
So you have like 3 things we're talking about, really. You're talking about effects, you're talking about backing vocals and backing tracks entirely, or you're talking about full-blown lip syncing.
Yes.
I don't want to jump the gun, but I have a feeling we all agree we're not down for the lip syncing portion of this conversation.
No Milli Vanilli.
Right. A lot of pop stars do it too.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Of course they do. I just as long as you're not being fooled, I think be out in the open with it, right?
Okay.
Even
if it's lip syncing, like as long as you know you're down for.
Well, I mean, sometimes I guess there's a performer who feels they need to lip sync. I think it's BS. But I mean, I hate the ones that are lip syncing and trying to think that especially with all the dancing that goes on now with pop vocalists. Yeah. There's no way they can do what they're doing and sing.
Right.
And not be out of breath and going,
right.
Right.
You're running all over the stage.
Right.
I mean, I work out every day of my life and I'm a runner. I can't run and sing along with my playlist. You know what I mean? Like with any sort, and I'm not a singer, but like any sort of real breath. And I've been a runner for a decade and I still can't do that. I don't think it's possible. So any pop star I would see, I would just assume they're lipping it.
Yeah. It's just not fair to pay that much money just to see someone like a puppet.
Right.
Just singing with just a pre-recorded track. It's like.
But I have seen that and it was a good show. This is not a popular opinion, but I have seen Britney Spears live.
Just be up front. You don't need to announce it.
Yeah.
But you don't need to deny it.
Well, I've seen Britney Spears, and the show that she put on, like the level of production.
This is our special guest, by the way.
Yes, our special guest is here. Yes. Tony Ryan is back. You may have
he's going to put the headphones over there.
Okay.
He's going.
Wow.
He's ready. That's fine.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
You may just have to share a.
He doesn't need a camera. They can just look at me.
That's fine. Nobody needs to see me.
Yes, they do. They absolutely.
We can switch places and they won't even know.
Right. Exactly.
There we go. Okay, he's on the mic. Tony Ryan, everybody. He's back.
Hi.
Oh, can I get a web? I could put the webcam on.
Can you? Can you add one in real time? He just did that.
Oh, nice. Look at Danny on the fly.
All right, you guys keep talking and I'll line it up.
Danny, so we're talking about backing tracks at live shows.
Yeah.
And the different levels that you can use recorded things at a live show, whether it's backing tracks or a full-on lip syncing or anything in between or drum tracks or drum triggering, stuff like that.
Speaking of triggering, I'm triggered right now. Well, because I feel like if I pay my hard-earned money to go see somebody, I don't want to see lip syncing or backing vocals.
No Milli Vanilli.
The only people that get like a pass are like if Mick Jagger and the Stones in their like approaching, or Jagger's 80 and they're on tour. They're about to go on tour. They're going to be at Jazz Fest and they're going to be at Levi's in July. But maybe if he needs a little vocal help, sure. He's 80. He's earned the right. And I'll still go see the Stones.
Yeah, but I think, if you look at... No, I'm just saying.
I've already,
before you came in here, I said, if people are honest and they don't deny it, it's not like they need to tell you and come out before the show. By the way, we're tracking, but if they get questioned about it, if they're like, yeah, you know what, we do some fills here and there, blah, blah, blah.
Who does that?
I don't know. I'm just saying, if you're going to use them, be upfront about it.
Have you heard of people being upfront?
Well, here's the deal. Even going back into the 70s, before you guys were alive.
Nice. Actually, I was alive in the 70s.
Barely.
Yeah, shout out 73.
You had very complex 16-track album productions that people wanted to hear in person.
Correct.
Whether it was Pink Floyd or even some of the late Beatles stuff.
Right.
That they could not possibly do. Technology would not allow them to do it in concert, and they needed aid to do it in a show and reproduce it.
It depends on what you are saying.
Because it was so technologically advanced with the different tracks.
Well, an album like Dark Side of the Moon, right? Number one album of all time, I think, still, maybe. Of course, there's layer upon layer upon layer of people screaming in the background.
Chimes, the money sounds.
Right, all that stuff that you'll get as recorded. So I consider that more sound enhancement and sound effects.
Well, and that's what
but Joe Elliott.
Joe Elliott. Def Leppard was saying.
Yeah.
Oh, but when you went and saw Green Day at the Fillmore, there's no backing vocals there, right? I mean
just other members on stage.
No, I mean pre-recorded.
Just Baby Huey singing in the audience.
Yeah.
There's no backing.
Yeah.
Right.
I did sing along.
Yeah, great.
You saw it.
Right. I witnessed, yeah.
Did you get up on stage and dry hump Billy Joe?
Mike Dirk pointed to me.
That's good.
He did. It's on video. It's on the Bones Instagram. Scroll down.
But I want authenticity.
Yes.
Paul, I love the band. Actually, you all know I love the band Fish,
yes,
right? Do I shout out the Sphere? They're playing the Sphere 4 nights this week.
You're not going?
No.
Oh,
no.
That hurts my soul for you.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's my soul is hurting.
Yep.
But they're not known for their vocal prowess, but they still sing on their own and don't, feel the need to have this crutch of a backing track.
That's interesting.
And they rely on their musicianship and their improvisational skills and that kind of stuff to tantalize the concert goer. I just think if I don't know, when I watch someone on those award shows and stuff, and they usually seem like they're lip syncing
halftime shows,
it aggravates me to no end.
Sure.
And to know how much money they're getting paid.
Yeah.
To do those performances, and they're not even performing technically.
I think to me, it comes down to the intent that you have when you see an artist. I'll give you an example. St. Paul and the Broken Bones. Yeah. That guy can sing his ass off.
Yes.
And I'm going to see him in a couple weeks in New Orleans.
Nice.
And if I walked in and he wasn't actually singing, I would be heartsick because he bleeds on stage. He's giving you notes that are coming from deep within and you feel that,
totally. Yeah.
right?
Yes.
If I'm going to see him, I want what he has to give. But if I'm going to see Britney Spears, like I was saying when you walked in, I have seen her. My intent was she's a pop star. It's more about the whole stage and everything I'm bringing in, kind of like a Broadway show is how I thought of it. So I wasn't bummed that she's probably lip syncing because, like you were saying, she's dancing her ass off. I wouldn't expect her to have the breath.
So you're saying lip syncing allowed for pop acts, not good for rock bands.
For rock bands, I want it. Out of context, the sentence is going to sound really dirty. So here we go in 3, 2, 1. I want it raw.
Yeah,
nice. Flag that. Flag that.
I want it raw, and I want to feel it.
Yes.
Oh my God! Flag it again. Repurpose that.
So for rock bands, but we were out Saturday night watching the Black Crowes. There was a band.
How's that show?
Fantastic.
Okay,
fantastic.
Nice. Yeah.
The opening band, Asteroid Number 4. Do you know them?
No.
I had never heard of them. They very clearly were using backing tracks because Jay and I are standing there 3 people in and we're watching them and I'm like, where is that sound coming from? And Jay's like, they don't have a mandolin. And so all of a sudden we were like, oh, this is very heavy backing tracks. But they were live.
Okay.
So it was like a layered situation, and I didn't mind it. It was
okay. Right. That's a whole different situation.
Right.
So there are different situations that apply to this, yes.
Okay.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Are you okay if backing tracks are there for someone like, let's say hypothetically, Mick Jagger, whose voice is not as strong as it once was, but it helps fill it out. So when someone's watching live, you get almost like a better live experience. That's okay.
I feel like, yes, when
we'll
age
give it to
is
Mick
a
Jagger,
factor.
but not Vince Neil.
Yeah. Vince
Neil just needs a whole other voice.
Other throat.
Because it's thrashed. Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate. He tries to do those or Axl Rose even tries to do what he used to do. I mean, there's a reason why Robert Plant refuses to play Zeppelin songs.
But he'll admit it though, too.
He will.
Yeah,
but he won't
be honest.
But he won't go out and try and fool you though.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
He goes and does stuff he's written in his range now.
Exactly.
That works for him now.
Like the stuff with Alison Krauss is fantastic. But it's in a different key.
Yeah.
So the band you were talking about on
Asteroid number 4.
So they had I guess the term backing tracks for other
instruments.
There
were clearly instruments I was hearing that were not on stage.
Because their songs are really layered with different sounds.
It was kind of that shoegazer sound, like that dreamy sort of rock.
So, I have no problem with
a lot of layers going on.
Like if you have 4 members who each play a different role.
There's no way they could have made that sound.
Exactly. So I have no problem with backing tracks or effects to add
to make it possible
to recreate the full song if
That's
in the studio.
Like Pretty Lights or LCD Sound System or those performances. You have live people on stage, obviously, but you also have a ton of produced elements that are part of the show.
To recreate the song.
I'm fine with that because I know that going in.
Right. And the bands are like, it's so obvious. People will know, but we don't care.
And we're not hiding anything.
Right, exactly. That's
But if it came out tomorrow that Taylor Swift lip synced her whole tour, I think people would be just really upset.
I think they would too.
Because they paid
I agree with that.
boatload of money.
Yeah.
And it's we want to see the authentic Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there might be people that don't care, but me personally,
I really don't care.
as more of a purist, and me wanting to take my daughter. If I would have paid a couple grand for 2 seats at Taylor Swift, and I found out that she was lip syncing, I would be pissed.
I agree. I totally agree.
So what do you think about Joe Elliott's comments that they use effects?
Yeah.
He's trying to separate the two. They don't use backing vocals. It's all 4
like reverb and delay and echo and stuff.
for drum effects, and other type of sounds, keyboards that they recorded for those songs, but I guess they don't have someone to do it live.
Yeah.
So they played those effects.
Okay.
But everyone else is singing their parts. So
I'm fine with that.
Yes.
I'll give you an example that's really interesting from our dear friend Dana, God rest her soul. She would always tell me that she would go to see the Doobie Brothers and she would sit backstage and she would put headphones on because they still use her daddy's voice. And so that was the only time that she could hear her dad.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
And so it was such a cool moment for her.
Yeah.
So I think there are, and I'm totally fine with that, by the way. I think there are so many bands that do similar things.
Right.
I mean, her dad's been gone since, I want to say 2012, and they were still using his vocals. I think that is so prevalent in the industry. I just don't think a lot of people, A, talk about it, or B, know it's a thing.
Right.
They don't realize
Do you know,
it.
is that his vocals, is that the studio, from the album?
Right, from the harmony. It's a harmonies from the album.
Gotcha. It's not like a live track
Right.
from somewhere that they just repurpose over and over and over.
Right, that's from my understanding.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, come on, Def Leppard. You don't have enough money to pay for a keyboardist? I mean, come on, you know what I mean? People are still buying High and Dry and Pyromania today.
That's
So
true.
do you believe his comments though that the vocals you hear on stage at that live concert, it's all them live in real time? That's what it sounds like from that quote.
He's very bold about it, saying that there's nothing.
That's them raw as it is.
This is Joe Elliott.
Joe Elliott, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. And he's got a good voice.
They put on a phenomenal show.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And back to Jagger, by the way, his voice is still pretty, for 80 years old.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
That Hackney Diamonds album they just put out.
It sounds great on that.
Fantastic album.
Yeah.
Right?
And by the way, he also moves around like a pop star.
Yes.
We give grace. I'm giving grace to somebody like Britney Spears, but Mick Jagger probably moves more than she does.
I
Yes.
didn't get to ask you, Chris Robinson.
Yes.
He is getting up there to Mick Jagger's status is of dancing.
Can we sidebar about how much I love Chris Robinson?
His dance moves. I'm like, he's like trying to be Mick Jagger up there.
Swagger, like he is in the textbook for swagger.
Totally.
Oh my
He has
Lord.
a mirror on stage.
I love, and he owns it. He's like, now every frontman's gonna have their own mirror because of this mirror right here. Like and he turns around and he's like fixing his suit.
He said he wanted to sell it to Mick Jagger.
Yeah, he did.
he said that on stage.
Yes.
So he and Rich are back buddy, and
They are.
Yeah, they are.
They are.
Good.
And it's been a couple
How
years
about that?
now.
Well, it's good for the music. I mean, the Black Crowes catalog's incredible. So the fact that they can get along, like I loved when they went out with Luther Dickinson from the North Mississippi All Stars.
Yeah.
Like that was my favorite iteration of them.
Yeah.
And then they did with Jackie Green, like really good guitarists. But the fact that it's Rich and Chris back together makes me very happy.
Well, you're not going to replace the synchronicity you get when you have brothers in a band.
Exactly.
I mean, we know that from Van Halen, for God's sake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and many other bands. That's just an example. But but they were locked in. I was watching their like chemistry and you know how they were looking at each other, and they were like singing in the same mic, and they were all in.
Nice. And but he's another good example. Like literally the best cover I've ever seen of Led Zeppelin was by the Black Crowes, Chris Robinson doing Nobody's Fault But Mine.
That was when Jimmy Page played with them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
and it was incredible, but I'm like, man, the balls on Robinson to embrace this and try this because of Plant's vocal.
Yeah.
But back to the point of backing or tracks, I don't think Chris Robinson has a backing track, even though he's getting up there in age.
No.
And he tries to hit some very difficult notes while singing.
He does, but he also will work his way around other notes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
He comes down.
He comes down
doesn't go as high,
and he does do the song in a different energy and vibe so that he's not right on the money of that note that he knows he can't hit.
True.
And that's
Did you
fine.
see Blur at Coachella?
No.
So they did song 2, and he goes, wahoo! It's that real high pitch, but he changed it to wahoo, like
lower.
that.
Yeah.
So wahoo, it's a little bit lower now.
Did it have the same effect?
But people are commenting. It's like he changed the pronunciation, I guess, for his lower voice now.
Yeah.
The Instagram comments, people were saying he changed it to the wahoo to wahoo.
Yeah, it does have a different energy. I agree.
So the way of working around his voice changed.
It's kind of like the difference between Lamont and Tonelli's whoop whoop. Like Lamont's is very up here and yours is more subdued. Yeah.
I looked it up. The lead singer of Blur is 56. So
Is he? Well,
that song 30 years ago, it's not the same.
Right. And you have a young voice versus 56.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's just nature. And I don't know why
But it's
people
him being
get all bent
natural
out of shape about that.
It's him natural raw on stage though still.
Right. So he's
cool.
not doing a backing track of woo.
Yeah, that would suck. If all of a sudden you're hearing the 35-year-old woohoo.
No, you don't want to hear that.
Right.
And then you know.
Right, exactly. Whereas Vince Neil will try to scream, and it's really sad to see.
Yeah.
Because he's got he's just not in shape, and he was in great shape back in the day, and Axl Rose was in great shape, not in good shape now, and they try and hit these notes, and it's like, don't even try. Like, it's just, I wouldn't try
I think
that.
there are ways around it. And what I will say, like with certain bands, and I'm actually not going to name names because I don't want it to come back to haunt me, but I have seen certain bands where Jay and I are standing there, and Jay, like being the musician that he is, he knows, he's like, that son of a bitch is not even playing that instrument. Like he's not even playing the instrument.
Well, there's or go ahead, Paul.
I have a long-running conspiracy theory with Lamont.
Nice.
Because we went to see Roger Waters at the Staples Center for the Wall show.
I saw that tour.
All right, so they build the wall, right?
Which was incredible.
All right, and that was a great show, and the sound was amazing. And the second half of the show, the wall's up, and they break the wall down.
Right.
And the second half of the show is playing, and we're like, wow, that sounds perfect. And I told Lamont, it could be one of the biggest scams of all time. They build the wall, and the first half of the second part of the show, because they break the wall down.
Right.
But I told him, I said, I think they're playing recorded music while the wall's up and taking an extended break. And then because who knows, maybe it was my imagination, but I distinctly remember telling him during the show, it sounds different once they broke the wall down and you saw the guys playing.
Interesting.
I remember when you were talking about that when it happened.
Well, remember, some bands, I don't know if you noticed this trick live, and The Who's one of them. So for the big scream, was it Won't Get
Bob
Forgiven?
O'Reilly?
Oh,
Yeah, Bob O'Reilly.
Yeah.
right before the scream, they flash a light to the audience. It's almost like they blind you, and then you hear the scream. So that way you can't like see if he's like, if it's truly coming from him.
That's very funny.
He's probably got like a lot of echo or delay.
But there's
a
couple bands I noticed that like during a big scream, like they'll flash a light and like almost like blind you so you can't see the vocal of this big scream moment.
But he's another guy that has adapted his range has adapted his style because of his limited range. And Paul, back to that,
I still think there was some funny business going on.
I wouldn't doubt it, to be honest with you. I mean, it's like, hey, we're behind a wall. Let's give him like, I don't know, pristine quality stuff. I don't know. But I remember, I feel like Comfortably Numb when I saw them.
I forget the set list.
Yeah, but I mean, it's in order of the wall.
It is.
But like, I remember when they played Comfortably Numb, David Gilmour, it was like a big deal because it was like Waters and Gilmour on the same stage together for the first time. But they weren't like technically next to each other because Waters was down like on the stage and Gilmour was up at the top of the wall.
Yeah.
Like when the wall was built.
Yeah.
And that was being played because, I mean, it was Gilmour and they zeroed in on his guitar. But
So let's say that's true then. So let's just go with the conspiracy, that it's true. Are you pissed off if that's true?
Oh, man.
I mean, it was still a great show, right?
But
it was still a fantastic show.
Well, instead of music,
and the sound was almost overwhelmingly good.
Right.
But you're essentially then paying to sit in a room and hear a CD.
Well, if the whole show was that, I'd be pissed.
Okay.
But if there were portions or elements, because their music is so complex and so unique and it doesn't fit into one genre. Like I would give them a little bit of leniency or leeway, you know?
I agree. I think in this space, they probably lead the way. I remember seeing Roger Waters at, multiple places, but at the Chase Center specifically, we were in the box together. And I remember thinking about the sound and how it was bouncing from behind me to in front of me to my left
it's all
ear.
over the place, right?
And but that was part of the experience. Now we know that's effects and backing and all everything applies with Pink Floyd or Roger Waters. But I was totally fine with it because that's part of their sound.
Well, you know what? It kind of took me back to like when I was seeing Waters. Like I grew up in high school going to the Laserium in Golden Gate Park, and they would do a laser show to Pink Floyd.
Oh yeah,
and it was just
at the planetarium.
Yeah, exactly. Which it's still going. By
Unbelievable.
The way. It's still
That's
going.
50 years.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I ended up running out during Welcome to the Machine because I got a little scared. Aww. I mean, I was 16 years old, and I'm like, this song is really scaring me right now. But point being, it was just the recorded track, but it was still pretty powerful because their music is so powerful.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? But I would still be pissed if I went to see Roger Waters and it was all pre-recorded. You know, and he's lip syncing.
He's lip syncing.
Yeah,
I agree.
I would be ticked. And you know, he's modified his voice, I think, a little bit too. He's not doing Roger Daltrey, you know, screams, but he used to do like some high pitched stuff that I feel like he's modified over the years.
And see, Steven Tyler still is, but therefore he damaged himself so badly that
he can barely tour because
we're praying that this tour, you know.
Didn't they have what about the residency in Vegas? What happened to that?
That was he went to rehab. That was
that's right.
Yeah, that was my birthday, unfortunately.
Oh,
that was before.
That trip got canceled.
But that was before.
That was before the damage
injury.
to the vocal injury and all that stuff. But I mean, everything has been rescheduled, and you know, hope all is well. I know he's been in therapy for that, and you know, making it all happen. But going back to the point, this guy has hit. He still hits those.
Yeah, he does.
And he goes for it. But then at what cost? Right?
Right.
It's like the boss was just here. My friend was there, and he said he did 3 hours, but his voice at the end was totally wrecked.
So I went to one of those shows also, and 3-hour show.
Yeah.
74-year-old guy and a 17-person band. But if I found out that like even the sax was pre-recorded, I'd be pissed because they're such a they're so true to the art,
right?
That if I was, it would be soul crushing to know. Like, wait a second, the E Street Band is
because they would be the last ones you would think would fake anything.
Correct. Yeah. But his voice was at the end. It was just him and a guitar. By the way, another really good album recently was their recent album, Letter to You. But the track he ended the show with, it was the encore was I'll See You in My Dreams, which is the song on that album.
That was the last song of the show?
Last song of the show, just him and his acoustic guitar. And it was quite a moment, but his voice was thrashed.
But you were okay with it.
Oh, totally. Because it was like we all earned that together. Or he earned that because he screamed
everything.
and sang for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
You know?
So if I'm sitting in that room, I'm okay with it. But if I have a ticket to the show the next night, I might not be as okay with it. Because
right.
You know what I mean? Because then I might not get to see him.
But bands like that and him, they take they don't do back-to-backs anymore, right? They probably take 3 days off. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the shows here even were, 2 or 3 days apart.
Yeah.
Right.
It went Thursday and Sunday, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why you see older bands, a lot, well, there's a lot of bands that do it that way, but even really top A-list smart bands like Metallica, for instance, they pick and choose. They're at that situation where they can pick a festival and they can find a hub in Arizona, do 5 shows as an offshoot of that, but have kind of a home base. And then a couple weeks later, they'll be somewhere else. There are ways to do it where I think you can let yourself rehabilitate between shows.
Yeah.
It's like it's earned through your success and through your fan base that you've built up over decades, right? I mean, I go back to that band Fish that I love, but they used to play 200 plus gigs a year.
Yeah.
Now they pick and choose, and they'll do a quick spring tour of 8 or 10 shows and spaced out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no more of the days of being a hippie and hitting the road and following them for 6 cities, you know?
Yeah.
But they're still able to do what they do on just a more limited basis.
Yeah.
And I feel like they've earned that over their, multi-decade success. Well, Metallica is a great example.
Yeah. They do it really well.
Oh, my God.
Smart about it.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they were backing stuff.
In Metallica?
In Metallica.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I have no knowledge of that, but their sound is so massive.
Right.
It's like a wall.
It is.
You know?
Totally.
And so, but I'm not mad at that either.
No, I remember.
I know they're also really playing their instruments.
Okay, so thank you for saying that, because I went, Tom Tolbert and I on KMBR afternoon host, former Warrior, right? I've gone to a couple shows with Tom, and he's 6'9", I think. So when you go to a show with Tom, he sits. He doesn't stand because he just feels bad for the people behind him. But
you feel seen, Huey?
Then I feel
no, he has no shame.
Right?
No. In fact, he's jumping up and down, standing on a chair.
You get on somebody's shoulders.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, I was lifting people in the pit at the Green Day concert.
There was a big pit, huh?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. God.
Jay and I went in there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jay went in?
Oh, Jay is the king of the pit.
Oh, man.
He has a separated shoulder because of
that. Is, man.
Anyway.
Tolbert.
Oh, yeah. But we were saying, we were talking about watching Metallica, and they were like musical athletes.
They are.
Because the precision of their music and how fast they play, and it is fascinating to watch.
It is.
I've always said, I like going to Metallica shows not just to see them play, but to literally watch them play.
But again, if they use anything, not saying that they do, but if they do, you still appreciate the music they're putting out there.
Yes.
Because you know that they're playing their asses off.
Yes. Yes.
And they're staying in shape and they're doing the work. In fact, they do yoga, or at least Kirk does, yoga before he goes on stage. I mean, there's a lot of intent there to stay as healthy as they can to put on the best show that they
Robert Trujillo is still
He's
pretty yoked, and he contorts his body in ways on the stage.
Oh, the crab walk? Yeah.
Which is how do you do that?
Yeah.
While playing bass, for some speed metal.
Yeah,
What was it? Mick Jagger's workout posted about a year ago or so.
Yeah.
Oh, when he was getting ready for tour, and it was incredible.
I just saw another.
Considering that, I think he was 78 at the time, right? Something like that. Anyway,
I just saw a rehearsal video of his for this tour. I didn't double check it. I think it was for this tour, but it said Jagger rehearsing for this tour, and same kind of thing, man. He's doing some stuff with the pole and doing he's 80.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's able to do what he does is ridiculous. And again, earned.
And to me, that's respecting the craft. And it's respecting the people's money that they're paying. And I don't want to go back to Taylor Swift again, but I'm gonna. That girl also, she's running for 3 hours at a time to be able to stay in the shape to do that kind of show. The fact that you're respecting the money that people are spending to come see you, and you are giving them that or doing your damnedest, that's what I respect more than anything else, is the try.
No question. Right. And I was just explaining that to my daughter because we were watching her,
Eric's documentary.
Yeah, exactly.
Film, yeah.
And we saw it in the theater, and afterwards I'm talking to her saying, I hope you appreciate how much rehearsal time has been put into that production.
Yeah.
And trying to break it down, like, yes, it was a 2.5 or 3 hour show, whatever it is, but weeks and months and hours.
Every
like,
step and move.
everything.
Yeah.
And all the wardrobe changes and all the different dance routines for each section, not just for one song, but each section of a song.
If you break down, I get really nerdy about stuff like that.
Yeah.
I love it. I was a dancer for 13 years too. So the choreography I always find amazing. But you can see, if you look closely in that film, you can see the marks on the stage and she will hit it, boom, just like that. And you'll see the effect it will trigger.
Nice.
But if she misses it,
that doesn't hit.
it doesn't hit.
Yeah.
And there are different like things that happen in the show. It's a domino effect. And every tiny little move, every tiny little stomp, everything is so choreographed and rehearsed. That is an art. That is not easy.
God, yeah.
To do that for 3 hours a night.
Oh, man.
Holy Lord. It's crazy.
So, Paul, let's go to give me a favorite band of yours. Allman Brothers.
Allman Brothers. I was just kidding. Yeah.
That's
not that predictable.
Yep.
Right? So, say you go to see, let's go the Tedeschi Trucks Band. That's like the living incarnation of that,
I
right?
guess so.
Yeah.
And you found out after that there was backing vocals.
It depends on what was being used to fill the sound.
Okay.
I mean, if you're still getting, Dickie Betts on his guitar, and it's true, or Greg Allman,
Right.
rest his soul,
Yeah.
on the keyboards, or Butch Trucks and J. Johnny Johnson,
Nice.
right,
Nice.
on the drums.
Nice.
I mean, as long as they're playing, it's like we were just saying about Metallica. As long as you know that they're playing,
Right.
Not everything is completely possible. You have to go into a show and understanding that not everything is 100% possible in a live show for some of these bands.
Yeah.
I mean, for the Allman Brothers, I mean, it's kind of like your Fish thing, right?
Right.
I mean, they're going to play.
Right.
Now, they may have a couple of, I don't think they do, but they may have a few things they throw in there. But
Right. I mean, Fish talks about that they appreciate their fans so much because they have had like bad shows, dud shows, because they take a lot of chances with improvisation, and there are times where it falls flat on the song falls flat on its face, but the fans are very forgiving because they know that the opposite could happen, where there could be some really fun or intense jam that comes out of improvising.
And that's a perfect example of a band really knowing their people.
Yes.
And trusting, we're all in this experience together.
Yes.
We're going to take this journey.
There's like a reciprocity.
Yes. Ooh, look at you with your $10 words. I love it. Okay.
And he looked at me like, what?
So I feel like
I couldn't say caca.
caca.
Hey, give me a woohoo. Give me a blur
Woot
woohoo.
woot. Come on. Woo!
That's hard.
Woohoo!
Yeah, that's not bad.
Not bad.
Hey, by the way, Billy Joe can still sing, right? He's still,
yeah.
Right? I mean, he's still got it.
Oh, they all still have it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're really great.
God, I love that
And the
band
energy.
too.
Woo,
Oh, my
Lord,
God.
the energy.
You get your money's worth.
No
Yeah.
question.
I think that's a lot of it. The energy, the energy you're bringing to the stage, the willingness to go there and leave it all. That to me is everything. I don't want to simplify, but as a headline, do we all agree we're okay with effects?
Effects.
We're not cool with syncing altogether.
No.
Correct.
Right. So
Or just replacing a live performance with a recorded performance.
Right,
We're
right.
not talking about that.
Right.
I'm not talking about that.
No,
Right.
yeah.
But
agreed.
you're okay with someone singing, but if they need some help accompanying to fulfill that sound.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that to agree with Tony, especially when age comes into play.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
that is something that's going to happen to all of us, and
Yes.
there's nothing you could do about
Yeah.
it. So let's work with what we
Now
can.
there is one other thing though. If you get, I mean, to the vocal part.
Yes.
If you get to a part of a show where somebody will kind of bring it down.
Yeah.
And do a show that's going to highlight their vocals, right? That is just a almost a cappella kind of a thing.
Like
maybe some
Springsteen's
light
Encore.
accompaniment. What's that?
Like Springsteen's Encore was just him
yeah.
and the guitar.
Now, if you're going to assist that, then I think you're treading the line.
I agree.
Because you're trying to be
Authentic.
You're trying to create a moment and you're
Yes.
trying to show what you can do. Now, if you start getting some assistance there, then I think I'd have a problem with that.
You know
Yeah.
why I would have a problem with that? Because I'm going to be that idiot in the crowd that's still singing it where it's supposed to be. And then you're changing it on me, and I'm up here and you're down here.
What?
And I sound like I'm off.
And I think it comes down to sincerity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't try to pull the wool over their eyes.
That's
Right.
great.
Right.
That is a great summation.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, that's
Well done.
kind of nice. Good job,
Look
Paul.
at us. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. And it's good. Green Day also understands their fan base very well.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
You know?
They know me.
Yeah.
Well, but they also are free to write about whatever they want to write about, knowing that their fans will accept it. Which is you can't say that about every other, a lot of other bands.
Well, a lot of other audiences won't do that. They won't. They don't give that.
Billy speaks his mind.
Yeah.
He's on his mind.
Thank
He's
God he
created
does.
that dynamic, I think, from the beginning. Because going back to your point, we're coming full circle here.
Nice.
He's always been authentic to who he is.
Correct.
And when you start that way, right, and you're always that way, people know that that's you, and you're either on board with me and us, or you're not, and that's fine too.
Yeah.
So then people are cool with you, and it builds that trust.
Oh, man. God, what a great conversation.
I know. Right?
Seriously.
Well done, Huey, bringing
Nice,
this topic
Danny.
to the table.
Thank you.
Great job.
Absolutely.
Like Ric Flair. Woo!
Wow, that's a whole other.
Oh
podcast.
God, don't get him started.
You want to talk about zero authenticity?
Wow!
Come on.
Okay,
Wrestling?
I'm stopping this podcast before we even go there.
Don't start.
That's another topic. Thank you for being here. You can join us anytime. We'll take that topic on some other time.
Wrestling is real. People are fake.
All right, we love you for being here.
Thanks,
we'll talk
you
to you
guys.
next week. Bye. Woo!
Woohoo.
Whoa.